Sandor Clegane told Gregor Clegane, "You know who's coming for you. You've always known." Many fans assume that Sandor is referring to himself, but let's be real. Sandor does not mince his words. If he was referring to himself, he would have said, "I'm coming for you, brother." So who was Sandor referring to? Earlier in the season, we saw Sandor attempt a prayer of the seven over the graves of the farmer and his daughter.
We ask the Father to judge us with mercy. We ask the Mother to... I don't remember the rest.
So his words, "You know who's coming for you," may have referred to one of the seven faces, the Father, or rather, what that face represents, justice. Justice has always been on Gregor's tail. First Ned,
"I charge you to bring the king's justice to the false knight Gregor Clegane and sentence him to death."
Then Oberyn,
"You help me serve justice to the king's assassins, and I will help you serve justice to Elias."
Then Arya Stark.
Killing them isn't the problem. It's finding them.
I always thought you had a talent for violence.
Let's start with Oberyn. What is Gregor most notorious for? The deaths of Elia Martell and her children. Oberyn Martell came to King's Landing seeking justice and said something very specific. "Are you hungry, my prince? I have hungered for a long time, though not for food. Pray tell me, when will justice be served?" Check this out. We see that line pop up just one other time in the entire series. It's the very last line in a key chapter, when Arya Stark walks into the House of Black and White for the first time. The Faceless Man asks, "Are you hungry, child?" Yes, she thought, though not for food. So Gregor needs to pay for his crimes that he has already admitted to. Oberyn came close to delivering justice, but he failed. If Arya delivers the justice, it will be poetic for a few reasons. First off, Arya looks like Lyanna, and she's got the wolf's blood, just like Lyanna, meaning Arya's wild. Arya loves horses like Lyanna, and they are both referred to as the she-wolf. Lyanna defended Howland Reed back in the day, and Arya defended Micah, the butcher's boy. So Arya is linked to Lyanna, which means Arya is indirectly connected to Oberyn, Elia, and Gregor. And we've got two more cool connections. Arya named her direwolf Nymeria after the princess of the Rhoynar, who sailed west to Dorne, married Mors Martell, took on his last name, and the Martells ruled Dorne ever since. Last, there's a rumor that Nymeria the direwolf walked into a village and tore a baby from his mother's arms. Arya was pissed. Wolves don't eat babies. Maybe not, but Sir Gregor kills them, that's for sure. Of course, Arya is not out seeking justice for Elia and her babes. Arya has her own reasons. Gregor is one of two people left on Arya's list. Arya said or thought her list 19 times in the books, and Sir Gregor is the only person who made it onto her list all 19 times. Fun fact, Queen Cersei made it on 18 times and probably would have made it all 19 times as well, but one time Arya fell asleep midway through the list. But we drift. Why is Gregor on Arya's list? Because of the way he abused people, specifically women and children. You see, it's a reoccurring theme. On their way to Harrenhal, Gregor's men would rape the women. Most seemed to expect it and went along meekly enough. One girl, prettier than the others, was made to go with 4 or 5 different men every night until she finally hit one with a rock. So Gregor then took off her head just like he did to that horse. In that moment, Arya looked over at Polliver, the man who had her sword Needle, and Arya thought, it's good they took that away, otherwise she'd have tried to stab Sir Gregor right then and there. And he would have cut her right in half, and the wolves would eat her too. The first person Arya had Jaqen kill, at least in the books, is Chiswick. Chiswick earned his way onto Arya's list simply by telling and laughing at a story about Sir Gregor raping a 13-year-old girl at an inn. Arya watched Gregor and his men torture and kill someone every day she was with him. One boy of 3 would not stop calling for his father, so they smashed his face in with a spiked mace. Then the boy's mother started screaming, and Raff the Sweeling killed her as well. One girl shared a soldier's bed 3 nights running. The mountain picked her on the 4th day, and the soldiers said nothing. A young mother with a pock-scarred face offered to freely tell them all she knew if they'd promise not to hurt her daughter. The mountain heard her out. The next morning, he picked her daughter to be certain she'd held nothing back. Like we said, it's a reoccurring theme. Sir Gregor abuses women and children. We see this even if we go back to Ned.
They took our women, then they took them again. When they was done, they butchered them as if they was animals. They covered our children in pitch and lit them on fire.
So Gregor abused all small folk, men, women, and children. But as you can see, George R.R. Martin chose his words carefully. When the people came to King's Landing petitioning for help, the highlights were about abuses towards women and children. Just like his most notorious crime. and just like the reasons that Gregor made it onto Arya's list. We learn from Jaime's adventures that Gregor raped one of Bracken's daughters, and at the Dairy Keep, Sir Gregor put the whole garrison to sword, including the young lord himself, just a child, and the last of his line. And if you did not know, there are rumors that Gregor killed his father, his mother, and his sister. So who was Sandor referring to when he said, "You know who's coming for you"? Not himself. He was referring to justice. So Oberyn, Ned, and Arya all sentenced Gregor to die, but the two men are no more, which leaves just Arya. Just like Ned, Arya believes if you would take a man's life, you owe it to him to look him in the face and hear his last words. It will be poetic if Arya finishes off Gregor, since some believe the war began when Ned sentenced Gregor to die. But most importantly, Gregor is the biggest, scariest man in the realms, and he has a history of abusing women and children. It's pathetic. It would be most poetic for Gregor's justice to be served by a female child. And just like Oberyn, Arya is hungry, though not for food. She's the she-wolf, the night wolf. Someday, she will find them, hunt them, smell their fear, taste their blood. Someday. The question is how. We'll get to that in part 3, the final video of this analysis. I've been saving the best for last. Here's a hint.
No one's supposed to be here. It's a mercy. He's dead already.